The finale of the second day, the second round of the Big 12 tournament, ended with a really, really good game between two, teams that put on a really good performance. The Kansas Jayhawks were able to edge out the UCF Knights, my apologies, in overtime, 98 to 94. This game had a little bit of everything, some high-level shot making, some guys really stepping up in the moment, some questionable decisions, which I will get into for sure in this recap. But at the end of it, disaster avoided. You could feel the tension from the very pro Kansas crowd as this game almost slipped away from them. As UCF just was able to make enough shots to force overtime and give themselves a chance to win this game, but they just weren't able to get over the hump fully. Subi, I'll throw it to you. What are your initial thoughts on this game?
I don't know where to start, man. So much happened in like the last 10 minutes of the second half, and obviously in overtime. Just a lot happened. And we want to keep these brief, so we can't get to everything, honestly. And so comment in the comment section about like, oh, you missed this. Well, I assure you we didn't, but I don't know if we can get to it. I think the biggest thing that keeps coming out to me is KJ Adams. Man, he made every winning play down the stretch. And I think I know what you're alluding to in your intro, and we'll get to that. We can yuck it up, we can have some fun. But outside of stepping out of bounds at the end of regulation, KJ Adams made every winning play. There was a point 2:30 left in regulation. All right. Kansas is up one, and Keyshawn Hall's going berserk. Right. He's having a wonderful game. He locked him up. Keyshawn Hall dribbled the ball off of him, out of bounds, off of himself, out of bounds, turnover. Of course, in the grand scheme of things, right? Like it still ended up going to overtime, but that was a play. In overtime, he sprints back on a fast break, makes it a little bit difficult for Keyshawn Hall to pick up his dribble and go for the layup, and it's out of bounds on Keyshawn Hall. There was a tap out rebound by KJ Adams. I thought he did all the little things towards the end of the game that really stuck out. Over the course of the game, Cart cannot overstate how great AJ Store was, and I suppose you could say finally. And the
Free him,
entire
man.
I mean, he balled out. He was amazing. Um, I think there was a stat that I read that he hadn't eclipsed 6 total points in his last 4 games.
Mm,
What did he end with tonight? Like
19.
19. He was tremendous. And the entire time, Card, I'm thinking to myself, obviously, if Kansas loses, that's no good on the whole, but you'd waste an AJ Store game. So I think the two big things that are coming to my mind right now, KJ Adams making the winning plays and AJ Store.
Yeah, so here's where I'm at with KJ Adams. It's an inner dialogue that I have a lot. I love do the little things, margin slim moment KJ Adams. I love the steals, the hustle, the blocks, the defense. I love all that. What I don't love is when he himself says it's KJ Adams time or Bill Self confuses KJ Adams because honestly, at times I think he thinks he's Zion Williamson. And yes, they have similar muscles. Don't know what they do off the court. Hopefully that's not similar. But like just completely just I just don't understand. Honestly, Subi, I need you in a mini therapy session to walk me through why out of an out of bounds timeout with I think let's say I think there was like 11 seconds, 15 seconds left. It was KJ Adams time. I need answers and I need answers now. And I'm looking to you to give me the answers.
I mean, look, in another therapy session, maybe for next week, we dive into that Mariah Mills shout out that you definitely just had. But right now, I'm gonna. So I genuinely think on that last play, Cart, like I think UCF just duped them. I think UCF had a great defense, which was like I genuinely don't think Bill Self was like, yeah, let's draw up an ISO for KJ Adams. I could be wrong. I don't know. But I don't think that was the go-to plan. I think UCF saw KJ Adams get the ball and they were like, all right, I'm gonna sag off. Put the ball on the floor. I dare you, dude. And now this is kind of where it's KJ Adams, man. I think you're trying to make a play, but the second you see them sag off, clock's winding down, go find a ball handler, go find Hunter Dickinson, go find someone who's a little bit more offensively proficient. But I actually want to credit UCF there for duping Kansas. Am I wrong in that?
And no, I'm all for giving Dawkins credit. I honestly, I'm all for giving UCF credit. I mean, obviously, we're not here to hand out moral victories or anything like that, but I think they truly battled in this basketball game. Keyshawn Hall was incredible. They got really good performances. Unfortunately, that Darius Johnson fouled out when he fouled out. Big shot by Jordan Ivy Curry, but we talked about it in the preview. At least I think I mentioned it. Is that there's these issues right with Kansas. Like everyone wants to point out the issues, but you can have the issues, but you need your guys to show up, right? Hunter Dickinson shows up. Zeke Mayo was really good in this basketball game. He showed up. And I think they're able to just fill in other spots with doing that. You get the KJ Adams performance, you get the performance from AJ Store when you needed it too, because I mean, flat out, I thought DeJuan Harris and Rylan Griffin were awful in this basketball game. I just really, I mean, Rylan Griffin didn't really bring much offensively. DeJuan Harris did have the assist, did have 4 turnovers in this basketball game to go along with it. Really struggled from the field, and he fouled out of this basketball game. So just a really tough showing for those guys. For AJ Store to step up when they needed him, I think that was massive.
I feel like we're just rotating between Rylan Griffin and AJ Store for who's in the doghouse as it relates to coveted transfers
Yeah.
this offseason, right? Like, and I agree with you. Rylan Griffin wasn't good. More specifically, DeJuan Harris on the defensive end, just he fouled out, and I'm pretty sure the country saw 4 of those fouls come within 10 minutes of game time. He could not stay in front of Darius Johnson. He
He
just
also
and
fouled,
he's
he also he also fouled him. Like I'm the first person to come on here and be
yes.
like, all right, the refs got to let him play a little bit. He was hacking. He should have fouled out earlier.
Totally, totally, dude. Like, and you know what? Actually, the refs were pretty solid, man. Like Keyshawn Hall hit a big three, and he gave him a warning, not a
Yeah.
tech. I was like,
Mhm.
wow, that's refreshing. You
Yeah.
talk about DeJuan Harris. You also talk about the Darius Johnson flagrant that I thought was going to actually change the game and have Kansas cruise to a victory towards the end. But
Mhm.
I'm sitting there being like, that's a flagrant, dog. Like I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, I didn't think those guys played well. Obviously, there are some concerns for Kansas, but I think flipping to UCF, it's not lost on me how good they played in Cart. You and I got on here in the preview saying this was going to be a layup for Kansas. It certainly was not, man. You said Keyshawn Hall has the capability of going for a generational game. Had it. I think Chom was terrific. I feel gutted for him that he missed that little
And that
floater at
that
the
little
end.
flow, I wanted that for him, man. He's so good at that shot too. Like really great touch. I really thought that was good.
100%. And obviously we saw what Darius Johnson did. I'll tell you what though, this might be the villain origin story, especially for Hall and Chom. Hall's a junior. Chom is super young, reclassified freshman. I keep banging on the Knights drum moving forward. I think next year they're going to leave this game so much better.
Yeah, you just gotta make sure Keyshawn Hall doesn't leave. He loves going to new schools. And look, after the performance and what he's done this season, I wouldn't blame other schools for calling. Also, I've always had this theory, and this has been since I think Keyshawn Hall was at UNLV, so I think this is where this first started. I just always in my head thought he would end up playing for Eric Musselman, whether it be at Arkansas at the time. I can't see a world where he just doesn't flip to another school with with a couple 3-letter acronyms and heads over to play for SC. But no, all the credit for UCF. I would love if this team did stick together because they do have something, and I like Dawkins as a coach, and I think that UCF has had some big wins this season. They've been able to get talent to the school. I think that's really big for them. So yeah, if they could keep it together, I think they could really be cooking with something.
Yeah, totally agree. The as it relates to this game specifically, though, I think at the end, what won out was just talent and losing Darius Johnson for an extent. Obviously, Kansas lost DeJuan Harris, but if we're being real, was that might have been addition by subtraction. But losing Darius Johnson for the Knights was a huge blow, and then I think they were just gassed towards the end. Too many big time players for Kansas executing down the stretch, but also most notably, there was really nothing from the Knights bench outside of Debo Coleman. And when Debo Coleman started showing up and playing well, that's kind of when they made their run. So again, lots to build on for UCF. Kansas, again, they're not, I don't think they're world beaters, but they got the job done here.
Yeah, and look, I think they needed it. I mentioned that there seemed to be a lot of tension in the building. You know how the Big 12 tournament goes. It's a very pro Kansas crowd, obviously, with it being in its location. So there are some very unnerving moments there at the end of the basketball game as UCF made some really big shots. Shout out to Jordan Ivy Curry. That three was big time. And even the other 3-point attempts that they had, I thought that Keyshawn Hall was for sure going to knock it down. But like you said, KJ Adams made the little plays. KJ Adams or Keyshawn Hall had that steal, I think, and was going for the layup and knocked it off his knee. He did the little things. I just don't like when he thinks he's Jalen Brunson sometimes. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, but it gives us good content, doesn't it?
Is it good content? Is
Well,
it really?
I mean, it led to a Zion Williamson comparison off the floor. I thought that was
You're
pretty
right.
good.
You're right. You did lay it down. You did lay it out there for me. Man, it is hard to sum up this game in the short. It really there was so much going on in this basketball game. It truly is. Truly is hard to call. Is there anything else that you want to make sure we get out there that we can't be remiss without mentioning?
Really just want to squeeze it in. In overtime, UCF left two huge free throws at
Yeah.
the line. Those one of those deals where like who knows what the score is, and then that alters the situation. So two huge missed free throws as well. Let me see anything else. Oh, also just fake life. I was sweating here because I finished the day 500, but I probably should have been 1-3, right? Because I took Kansas in this game. UCF going on a 14-0 run in the second half. Like, give me a break, man. I'm tired of this.
It happens it's so confused. This Kansas team is just so confusing to me. I mean, we're gonna talk more about it because obviously they advanced, so we're gonna preview their other basketball games. I this is like the friend in the friend group who remains in there, but like I'm not turning my back on that friend because I can't trust that friend for anything. I don't want to leave this Kansas team. The minute I buy in and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's Dickinson, it's Mayo, that's fun, that's great. They're gonna do something to break me, so I'm just gonna stay at a distance. I'm gonna talk about it at a distance, and I'll talk about it when it's time. Good on the Jayhawks for getting a win. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
Cart, bring it to the therapy session. All right, man.
You don't even want to get started on my Big 12 therapy sessions.
Same time next week.
Yeah, I will see you there. But congrats to the Jayhawks for getting this win. The Jayhawks now advance to take on your Arizona Wildcats, Subi. Huh? How you feeling?
That's right.
We're gonna do the preview, but let me get a quick one sentence. How you're feeling?
I don't
Oh,
even need to
come
give you a sentence.
on, come on.
We'll catch them in the preview.
We'll catch it in the preview, but we will have all previews and recaps here on Sleepers Media YouTube channel. Make sure you tap into that. We got you covered for every Big 12 game. Like I said, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that. We will see you for the rest of the games.